that's how you really become a shaman.
When you were whispering into the pipe, and also in other moments of blowing the smoke, I felt like it helped me connect with a deeper, wider sense.
Good. That's part of the intent.
Hi, welcome. I'm Sammy. This is Shaun Ryan. Today we're talking about a journey with ayahuasca. You were telling me that your journey with this medicine, so ayahuasca, started about 7 years ago, and you are now initiated into sharing that medicine with others. Tell me about this journey, like 7 years ago, and what happened, what led you to find that call?
It was all very organic. I was just exploring with some plant medicines at the time. And I had a teacher who recommended ayahuasca, which I thought was a type of mushroom at the time. I was like, where do I get this mushroom? It just wasn't in my path at all. And then, about 7 years ago, it came in very quickly. As soon as it popped up, I had like a month's notice to prepare, which was perfect. Then I sat with ayahuasca, which is not at all a mushroom. It's a sacred vine mixed with another leaf, the chacruna leaf. And I heard some divine insight that was somewhat shocking as far as like my path and like what I could be, but I didn't think I would be those things. And then sure enough, they've all come to be the case.
So that feels instrumental to who you are now and what your life has turned into. And that started with that sitting with in that first ceremony. Is that right?
Yeah, that first weekend. To me, there's always been a magic. I've always done 2 nights in a row. Some people just want to do like one ceremony, which can be valuable, especially if that's what you're called to. But the 2-night thing, there's always some kind of beautiful magic. Like we'd just done a ceremony recently, and the first night you dove really deep, and it was just all like the muck and the mire of our shadow side and the stuff that's uncomfortable and icky that we don't necessarily want to even look at. And it was just the whole night was that, just a lot of like dissonance and challenge and consternation. And then the next night was the complete opposite, like complete divine, like deliverance, blessings, just easeful softness, just really lit up with the plants and their medicine shining through. So to me, I've always experienced like this beautiful arc in those kind of 2-night ceremonies. I'm a fan of those, and that's what I like to facilitate as well.
Is there any way that prior to having done this medicine that you could have ever known what that would have been like?
No. No way. There's no way. It's just like trying to describe like delivering a baby, from the experience of the mom. We get it in a sense, but no, the experience is so different.
The first night was really intense.
Well, that was just the last ceremony that I held. The people that were involved, there was just
I see.
A lot of resistance, a lot of like push energy and like leave me alone, I want to suffer, and wallow in it, which is great. Okay, cool. You got to burn that out. Great. Let's do that. And so it was a lot of work for me the first day, especially. But it was fantastic. And it was kind of like priming up the next day for like having done all the hard, laborious, darker stuff. To
be able to clear all that out of the way to experience, right? Like the greater messages.
Yeah, and ultimately that's what the medicine of ayahuasca is for, is to help us cleanse our challenges, our traumas out of our field, which in shamanism, they believe all illness stems from the spirit level. So, and also that we can heal our lineage backwards and forward by doing this work.
Yeah, I love hearing that. It resounds, it resonates in me. It's that, yes, I am a multidimensional person. I'm not just this human here that's been shown. And this medicine, what I'm hearing from you and what my experience has been, is opening up the doors to multidimensionality. So you had that first ceremony 7-ish years ago.
Yeah, my first one was 7 years ago, and I had a very clear intent, worked through that magically, and second day, same thing, worked through whatever remnants of that were still there. Both nights were just very blissful, like full Kundalini activation. Energy was just flowing through me so quickly. It was just like I was vibrating, like literally vibrating my whole body at points, and then it would just relax, because I was just processing physical energies that were stuck in my body and like ushering them out, allowing them to leave.
This was a new experience for you. Yeah. And then from then to now, of course, now you're initiated into actually serving it. So when did that piece come in?
It's funny because the year after my first ceremony, I went to the jungle for the first time. So I went to the Brazilian side of the jungle, deep, deep jungle. We went to Rio Branco, which is this big capital kind of city, the closest one you can fly to. And then from there, we had to go to this tiny little river city, third world. And from there, we took a 4-day boat ride on, like a 6-foot wide boat. And there was like 9 of us on this boat. And it took 4 days. We had to, stop at people's homes and just put our hammocks up and stay in their homes on the way there. And so we were deep in the jungle. And yeah, it was a whole 6.5-week thing. And we did lots of ceremony, lots of ayahuasca and kambo and hape and various other medicines. It was really magical. So that was really like my first initiation into it, especially the way the shamans were working with everyone else and kind of just left me on autopilot in my own space because of how I was working with the plants, apparently. So that was my first jump into it and diving deep with the plants.
Definitely. That's, to me, that's a deep dive. I mean, I'm impacted by how far into that's way off the track,
Yeah.
4 days by boat and stopping at people's houses. And that's like, ooh, that hits deep for me. And then you got to be participatory and the shamans were kind of leaving you to your own devices while they were tending more to other people.
Yeah.
Is that part of the hint that you got of like, oh, this is a calling, or this is...
Yeah, especially one night in particular, we were sitting outside doing ceremony and it was a cura night. Cura means curing.
Okay.
So it's like the night of like really helping people cure whatever they're working through. So we were all in this big circle under the full moon in the jungle and it was just intense. You could like see spirits flying and whizzing around. They were going around to everyone and doing certain like blessings or like clearings or like soap plays. I was over on my mat doing my thing and they just like passed over me and my dear friend who was a shaman as well, they just passed over him and went to the next person and it was like, okay, cool. All right.
Guess I'm good.
Yeah, but it was like a very clear message with the plants. They're like, yeah, they see the things in you that you're going to see later.
Wow. So that's another piece that I was curious about so in my experiences of ayahuasca, and I've heard other people say that ayahuasca actually has an intelligence, is a personality as real as you and me, or maybe more real, or whatever that means, but is its own beingness, yeah?
She has a very well-defined personality, yeah. It can be strong. I guess that's why they call her grandmother, because she has like that kind of strength of a really strong grandmother that like watches over her family and cares for them. But she's very loving at the same time as far as like nurturing you in your path. And she'll be firm at times if you need to be shown something or to see something a certain way. She'll help you see it, as uncomfortable as it may be, but she'll be like holding your hand the whole way. So.
I'm personally curious about that because I have had such intense experiences, like the most intense, having to face these things and then moving through that. Yes, I'm a golden light, and this is what I am. But the intensity is like, Grandma.
Yeah, it's funny. I think it's filtered more through our sensibilities of what we need, not necessarily consciously, but maybe more subconsciously, to travel through what we're working on and actually release what is in the way of allowing our light to fully shine. So some people, like myself, have always had really beautiful, blissful, divine ceremonies, even if they're like strong or intense at times. It's just kind of like intensely beautiful. And then some people have those, where it's like dark night, being in kind of hell, briefly, but then there's always this deliverance. And anytime I've spoken with them, dear friends that have had that experience, there's always much appreciation for having gone through that, to then see that ultimately they were creating that in their own lives or had at some point.
Yeah, that definitely resonates. I think for me, it wasn't conscious. I wouldn't have known what to ask for, but there was a deeper calling to, yes, just whatever it takes. Like, I want this, and this being my truer self that's beyond these layers that it accumulated. And that brings me to another question I have, because there's this way that we talk about ayahuasca, and it's sitting with. I'm not just taking this thing and then whatever. I'm actually a participant, equally showing up into the space. It's a meditation. It's something that I'm with.
You're sitting with the energy, the spirit of the plant or plants, and allowing them to work with you, and ultimately you're working with them. And that's also how you can have a challenging ceremony if you're resisting them, because they're doing their best to help and work with you. And if some people resist how it's being done, you know, as if like if they're going to have a purge. Not that anyone loves to throw up, but the purging is very different because you're cleansing something out of you from a deep energetic level that is in the way of you walking your path with clarity and through your heart. Ultimately, it's this beautiful process that if you fully surrender into it, you'll see that beauty and embrace it, and it will be incredibly rewarding. There may be thoughts that come with it, images, or the medicine may talk to you in specific ways, show you colors or patterns or sacred geometry, whatever it is, and it's all to help you heal. Whatever frequencies are needed. When singing the Icaros, I'll sing the Icaros. And when I was first learning them with the plants, I was trying to make them sound pretty because I've never been able to sing until like this year. The plants completely opened up my voice. So this is how you do it in the jungle. You always tune in, and before doing or serving any medicine, you always play like that dry whistle, like the whispering.
Yeah.
You always do that. That's how you speak to the plants, through your air. The air is the energy, right? Just like with the wood, the pipe, that has the air, the energy of the tree, the plant. So it's the same thing. You do that like dry play, and then you kind of tune your voice with the nature, with what's present, and then you sing. So it's never just like jumping into singing. And the way that they shine through me, I love it. And so I was just trying to like sound really pretty, and they were like, no.
Stop that.
This is not a performance. This is all about healing frequencies. Like whatever energies or emotions need to be processed are the sounds that will come through you. And I was like, okay, cool. So I fully surrendered to that. And there were times where my voice would get really kind of crackly or like raspy or sound almost strained, but I've never ever strained my voice in singing the Icaros because I trust the plants and the way they're working through me. So it's like whatever vibrations are needed to help the people in the room process. And it's the same thing with whatever you're seeing or experiencing. The plants are giving you whatever you need to work through what your intention is to work through. Or their intention, to help you work through that, even if you don't see what they're working on.
It's such, to me, a vulnerable process.
Totally, yeah. So there's a lot of surrender.
Yeah.
And trust.
Surrender and trust. Especially for someone who maybe hasn't done it before or isn't in a good context or container.
And so that's a huge thing. Like I've told people many times, even if you paid a lot of money to go and sit with a shaman, if you meet them in person for the first time and for whatever reason it's off, you look in their eyes and what you see is dark, then it's better to just walk away.
Love what you said. Just even if you paid a bunch of money, even if you go to the ceremony and you're ready and you get a feeling like, I'm not feeling this, because that was me. That happened to me. The last time I did ayahuasca, I've done it 3 times. The last time was that. I got that didn't sound right, and then went through it anyway. And it was really messy and ultimately healing because the plant gave me, but the human parts were not.
Well, so here's the thing too, because I've recently spoken to people about wanting things in the ceremony to be a specific way, like the location and the people and all this. Those are the things not to have control over, right? Because then you're trying to control way too much, and that's going to get in the way of the ceremony.
I see.
My point overall is you have to be completely in a safe space with the shaman. That's it. If you trust them, that's the thing. It's ultimately like the shaman's energy and the ability to hold the container that you're going to be in. And if you trust that. So that's the thing.
I love
even if the people are off or feel off, again, that's trust, ideally the shaman, and that they're ultimately working on certain mirrors of you that may be uncomfortable to see at that moment. And it's truly an ensemble in the ceremony. So it's like we're all processing different things. So the guy across from you might be processing this deep level of grief that you're on some level going through, but not directly necessarily in this ceremony. And you might be processing some level of shame that he's working on, And then the gal over here might be processing some level of self-love for you, with you. And you're also working that too. So, it's just this really beautiful collaboration. And then the plants are also in there helping everyone balance it all. And work through it.
Wow. Yeah, I'm getting this sense of a connectedness with all the parts in this very multifaceted, beyond my human brain way.
Very much so. And especially the way the plants work in the jungle when you're doing like a deep diet. it's way beyond our comprehension. They're incredibly divine, how they orchestrate every little thing that's around you and that you're experiencing.
Yeah, hearing that, I feel more trust for you in the way that I might experience you as a facilitator of that. And I feel that openness with you.
Good.
So thank you.
That's good.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a good question. It'll come back.
It will.
I'm curious about the part about integration, because, we go and we have this intense weekend ceremony or couple days ceremony, and this massive openings and experience and blowing the top off of what I thought reality was and deepening into who I really am in this incredible way. And then I go back to my life.
Yeah.
So yeah, what's that piece for you?
That piece is just as important as the ceremony, because if you don't integrate, then it's really just you going to kind of experience getting high in a sense, right? Versus doing the work of the ceremony and then doing the work of integrating that new level of being or that new frequency or vibration in your life. Ayahuasca is incredibly powerful for helping us to heal a lot of things, a lot of our patterns. And so that's what we can get stuck in, that create a lot of our challenges in life, is doing the same things, having the same habits and patterns that we've had since we were children. Ultimately, a lot of those can stem from traumas or pre-programmed conditioning. So it's really important to allow this new open space by allowing space between things and allowing yourself to slow down. So allowing this new open space to see things differently, experience things differently, and even do things differently. So I share with people, one simple example is if you're used to brushing your teeth with your right hand, try doing it with your left. See what that pulls up. Yeah, it might be awkward, it might be strange, and you might actually want to start doing that from now on. Or at least like rotating, It just pulls up a new part of the brain that's like, yeah, has this been serving me ultimately? And just doing those little things will help with the bigger things, like your habits as far as your dating life, or where you're living, or the places you're going to hang out and spend your time, the people you allow around your home, your work, everything.
Yeah, that feels really doable and simple, because it's not making this huge change in my life all at once. I'm literally going to switch arms for toothbrushing.
Yeah.
and like little things lead to bigger things. So yeah, I love that.
Yeah, it's kind of the butterfly effect. Meditation can be incredible, especially the first couple of weeks after a ceremony. Doing that first thing before messing with a computer or a phone or anything.
Yeah.
Just to tune into yourself, to spirit, to the presence of what is here and now. Because ultimately that's where we create from. A lot of people nowadays are used to jumping onto a digital device as soon as they wake up. And then they let that control and dictate where they go. So that's part of, especially the integration work, especially if that's your normal habit, getting out of that habit, because you want to ultimately be leading your life through your soul, right? Through what your heart's purpose is here to do.
Conscious choice too.
Yeah,
yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. It makes me think that how important it would be to preface doing a ceremony with plan for the weekend and plan for the after.
Yeah.
Have something in place.
Yeah.
For after that is going to anchor you to a new vibration, or at least begin that new path, open that path up. One thing I want to add too is something that I'm feeling called to create in general with this channel in general, and with potentially with plant medicine, is creating community around being able to talk about the experiences that we had with each other. And so I do invite that. There's something in the works around creating that community for this channel. This is a brand new idea, but it is important to me to have a place to connect about our spiritual and our extraordinary experiences. So ayahuasca is a being, is an intelligence, and is coming through this medicine journey that we can imbibe. What does she want for us?
That's a very good question. I would say she ultimately wants us to realize our true power, and not in the way that we think power is today, especially in Western society, of money being power. Power is, to me, especially as a man, power is vulnerability, living from our heart spaces, without the fear of being judged or invalidated. Just really being authentic and coming from that heart space. I also believe that part of her mission is to help us see the beautiful interconnectedness of all life, all beings, everything. All life is sacred. We think because a dog can't speak that they're subservient, right? Or a pig, a cow, any animal. And then, of course, we can bring that down the line to insects and, tiny amoebas and all these things, right? So it's just really honoring the life and the beauty that all of these things weave into the tapestry of our life and the experience and how they add joy and how we're interconnected.
Yes. I want that. Yeah, I just see the next step for human evolution to be in that interconnectedness. Maybe it starts with thinking about it, right? But then feeling it and experiencing it. And so,
I think that's a huge part, is the actual experiencing of the medicine. You experience that interconnectedness and you see and you understand on a very deep level the symbiotic nature of us with the plant world specifically. Our exhale is their inhale and their exhale is our inhale, right? Without them, we're not here.
It's just a special way that's beyond reading a book about it or something. It's a way to really feel something. We're going to feel something. And for me, that has always been more of myself in a way that is several levels deeper than what I ever have experienced, not in meditation state.
I think it is valuable to share the process of becoming a shaman.
Please, thank you.
With the dieta, ayahuasca ceremony, there's a dieta that you do, which is just a diet. The Spanish word for diet is dieta. There's a Spanish word for the day. So there's a dieta just for doing a ceremony where you're prepping energetically and even spiritually, mentally, you slow down with taking in media and things like that, just allowing your whole system to slow down. So in the jungle, you take that a step further. You diet a plant specifically, the elixir of the bark or the leaves or both. And you drink that while you're not ingesting any salt, any spices, any fat, any oil at all. Very, very bland, plain, simple food. Essentially the same food repeatedly. So I was just having lentils, quinoa, and green plantains that were boiled. Very, very plain. And that was it. Also, there's a period of fasting that you start with. And ultimately you go with the plant's guidance in that, but it can range from a few days to 18 days was my last fast. So it just depends on where you're at with the plants and what they want to do with you. But ultimately the dieta is really just allowing yourself to slow down because you're in the jungle, a pretty isolated position, if not completely isolated, where everything is just nature around you. That's what you have to connect with. All this time and space, no phones, and you go with the plant and you speak to it, you pray to it, you offer it mapacho. Plants love mapacho smoke. They really, really do. They have more nicotine receptors than humans, and we have a lot of nicotine receptors.
Wow, I'm so excited about that. I did not know that.
Yeah, so that's part of how mapacho is such an incredible gateway, because you pray on it and you intentionalize it, and then you light it up, and then you offer that smoke to the plant. And so plants, they pick up our thoughts instantaneously, but then with the mapacho, it just kind of synergizes it. It's like giving them a hug and a kiss. It's like, I love you and I'm connected with you and I really want to build this relationship with you. And so that's the whole intent of a dieta, is to build a deep relationship and a deep connection and establish that trust with the plant. 10 days is kind of on the lower end, and they can even be shorter than that, but 10 days up to a year or much longer if you're indigenous. For Westerners that are going down, a typical diet might be just a couple of weeks. They can be incredibly challenging, but they're also incredibly rewarding. And you also have to be prepared to create this contract with the plant for life. It's not just something you can do and then you get all these blessings from, and then you can go out and do everything you used to do. Like you can't have pork with specific plants. A lot of the plants, grandmother, ayahuasca does not love pork. So that's something you don't do when you're going to sit with her. This tree that I dieted, Noyarao, no pork for life anymore once you diet her. Other things as well, like cleansing yourself on a relatively regular basis is important and helps you also honor your connection with the plant. There are things that require a discipline with it, and if you don't, then there are consequences, real consequences that will continue to build up.
Thank you for saying all that. Just truly, I mean, that just dropped it from like, there might be an idea that I'm going to go be a shaman, la la, like I'm going to go dilly-dallying in the jungle and look, I'm a shaman now. But this is like deep. This is about the connection, the relationship with the plant, with yourself, a deep commitment that I'm hearing.
Yeah.
A life commitment.
Yeah.
This isn't casual.
Right. Yeah. And the contract to be a shaman isn't something that's just given by yourself or even from a shaman in the jungle. They call them maestro or maestra. I mean, they can verbally give you that, but the important aspect of being a shaman is that the plants bless you with that title. They give you that blessing to serve the medicine. And that's how you really become a shaman. You learn to communicate with the plants.
The plants.
And then the plants say, you're ready. When you're officially a shaman, then they give you your shamanic name.
Do you have a name?
Yeah, I do.
Is that something you...
Yeah. Well, it's also funny because this year I wasn't planning on going to the jungle at all. I had plans to initiate with a guru. I was supposed to go in February, and I got this loud call to come to the jungle. And it was so loud and so clear, I had to honor it. And so I did, and I went in January and ended up doing my first dieta this year. That first jungle journey totally shifted everything. I was given the decision to honor the call to serve the plants. They said I am to serve ayahuasca, but I must choose. I can choose the plant path or I can choose the guru path. So I chose the plant path. I let go of the guru, and I didn't go to India in February. Instead, I ended up going to the jungle. A lot more dieting this year than I didn't even think I was going to go at all. I wanted to know my Shipibo name. The language is kind of like Sanskrit, where it has a vibration to it. So the way you pronounce the words have healing power, and it's that way because it comes from the plants. I was asking for it, I think at the end of March, and it just wasn't coming through. And I asked the maestro for it, and he was like, nothing was coming up. At some point, I went back to the jungle again for July and August and was asking for it again. Yeah, it was pretty perfect because by the end of my time dieting there, like the very last week, this beautiful maestro, he told it to me. He said, Ranko Maraya is my Shipibo name, my shamanic name. Ranko Maraya, which is a real blessing of a name to be given. Yeah, the Maraya are the ancestral shaman that are in some of the Igros, so they're really highly appreciated in the lineage. So yeah, it was a really, really beautiful name to be blessed with. And so yeah, that was given just at the end of my time in the jungle.
Wow.
Yep, yeah, totally.
Thank you for telling me the name and the story and how you got it. How can people contact you?
Probably just looking at the website. There's a contact form there, divineguidance.me. I'm on some of the social media platforms. I'm not very good on social media, but I'm doing my best to be more like present.
Plants, social media. Thank you. Thank you for sharing with me and with us and your story and your energy.
Well.
Choro, choro, shaman ki